The air in the jungle is heavy. It's thick with heat and the sounds of insects. It's a place far away from the world, quiet and green. Then, a human voice cuts through the calm. It's not angry. It's not a scream. It is a patient, steady voice from a loudspeaker. The voice is giving instructions. He is telling people that it is time. Time for the final act. And the people listen. There is crying, but there is also order. There is fear, but there is also a strange sense of purpose. This is the part of the story that the mind cannot easily hold. It's not the violence that is so hard to understand. It's the quiet agreement. How do over 900 people, children included, take part in their own end? The question is not what happened on that day in 1978. The real question is how you get there. How does the human mind walk down a path that leads to such a dark place? To understand the end, you have to go back to the beginning, back to a time in America filled with deep division. The country was struggling with questions of race, poverty, and war. Many people felt lost, left behind by a world that seemed broken. They were looking for a better answer, a safe harbor. Into this world stepped a man named Jim Jones, and he offered a simple, beautiful promise, a family. Not a family of blood, but one of belief. They called it the People's Temple. Inside the temple, the rules of the outside world didn't seem to apply. It did not matter what color your skin was. Everyone was equal. They ran soup kitchens, helped the poor, and created a community that took care of its own. In a world that felt cold and unjust, the People's Temple felt warm and right. People joined from all walks of life. They were old and young, black and white, rich and poor. They were not fools. They were idealists. They were people who wanted to build a better world. They saw in Jim Jones a leader who was not afraid to challenge the old ways. He spoke of love and justice, and for a while, it seemed like he was delivering on that promise. It felt like a new beginning. It felt like hope. The journey from hope to horror did not happen overnight. It happened one small step at a time. It began with simple requests that were easy to accept. Come to another meeting. Help out with a community project. The requests felt good. They were part of being in the family. Then, the requests grew larger. Can you give a little more of your income to the church? It's for the good of everyone. Can you spend less time with your family outside the temple? They don't understand our mission. Each yes made the next yes easier. This is a powerful quirk of the human mind called escalating commitment. Our brains want to be consistent. If we commit to an idea, we find it difficult to back away from it, even when the costs get higher. Then came the loyalty tests. Members were sometimes asked to confess their deepest fears or secrets in front of everyone. This created a powerful bond of shared shame and trust. It also gave Jones information he could use to control them. People who questioned him were publicly humiliated. Slowly, the idea of disagreeing with Jones became unthinkable. You are walking down a path. Each step is small, so you don't notice the change in direction. But after 1,000 small steps, you look back and you can no longer see where you started. The world you left behind is gone. There is only the path ahead, and the group walking it with you. Then came the final move. The temple left America for a remote settlement in the jungles of Guyana. They called it Jonestown. It was meant to be a paradise, a utopia built from scratch. But it was also a trap. The first wall of the trap was physical. Jonestown was completely isolated. There were no roads leading out. Mail was censored. Communication with the outside world was cut off. Jones was the only source of news, the only voice of authority. When you only hear one story, that story becomes your entire reality. The second wall was psychological. It is called the sunk cost fallacy. The members of the People's Temple had given up everything to be there. They had sold their homes, given away their life savings, and cut ties with relatives. They had invested their entire lives into this one idea. To admit that Jonestown was a mistake was to admit that their sacrifice meant nothing. The mind struggles to accept such a catastrophic loss. So, it finds a way to justify the choice. It tells you to protect your investment. It's easier to keep believing, to keep going forward, than to face the devastating truth that you were wrong. They were trapped by the jungle, but they were held there by the weight of their own past choices. At the center of it all was one man. Jim Jones was a master of reading people's needs. He could project warmth and fatherly love. His sermons were powerful, full of passion and promises of salvation. To his followers, he wasn't just a preacher, he was a prophet. He staged miracle healings where he would seemingly cure people of diseases. These acts built a myth around him. But there was another side to him. He was deeply paranoid, and he projected that fear onto his followers. He convinced them that the outside world, especially the government, was a great evil, constantly plotting to destroy them. This created a state of permanent crisis. Only he could protect them from the enemy at the gates. This, us versus them. Thinking is a classic tool of control. It unites the group against a common foe and makes the leader's power absolute. He needed constant praise. He demanded total loyalty. Any form of dissent, even a questioning look, could be punished severely. The rules were always changing based on his moods. He was the sun, and everyone else was expected to revolve around him. In Jonestown, his personality became the law, and his fears became everyone's reality. In November of 1978, a visitor arrived. He was a white congressman named Leo Ryan. He had heard troubling reports from relatives of temple members and came to Jonestown to see the truth for himself. His arrival was like a stone thrown into a still pond. It shattered the illusion of a perfect society. For Jones, this was the ultimate threat. An outsider could poke holes in his story. Even worse, some temple members secretly passed notes to Ryan, asking for help to leave. The bubble was about to burst. The fear and paranoia in the camp grew to a fever pitch. This is where a dangerous mental state called groupthink takes hold. In a high-stress, isolated group, the pressure to conform becomes immense. Individual thought fades away. The main goal is no longer to make the right decision, but to maintain group unity. Doubts are pushed down. Questioning the leader feels like betraying everyone you love. They had practiced for this moment before. Jones had led them through drills called White Nights, where they would rehearse mass suicide as a protest against the evil world. By practicing the act, the unthinkable slowly became thinkable. It became just another drill, another test of loyalty. After Congressman Ryan left with a few defectors, Jones's greatest fear came true. He had lost control. He gathered everyone in the central pavilion and announced that the time had come. For a follower, this moment creates an impossible mental conflict. Imagine holding two powerful, opposite ideas in your mind at the same time. The first idea, this man is our father, our savior who protected us. The second idea, this man is telling us to die. The human mind cannot endure this level of contradiction for long. It's a state of extreme mental pain called cognitive dissonance. To relieve the pain, one of the ideas must be changed. For many in Jonestown, it was easier to change the meaning of death than to change their belief in the man they had followed for so long. So the act was reframed. It was not suicide. It was a revolutionary act of protest. It was not an end, but a final, powerful statement to a world that would not understand them. This is why the audio from that day is so chilling. You can hear people resolving this terrible conflict in their minds. You hear the calm that comes after an impossible choice is finally made. The story of Jonestown feels like it belongs to a distant, almost alien past. It is tempting to see the people of the temple as different from us. But the story is a warning, and its patterns are woven into the fabric of everyday life. The human need to belong to a group is powerful. The desire for simple answers in a complicated world is strong. The comfort of having a leader who promises to take care of everything is tempting. The danger begins when a group asks us to stop thinking for ourselves. It begins when we close ourselves off from other points of view, living in a bubble where our beliefs are always repeated back to us. It begins when loyalty to the group becomes more important than our own sense of right and wrong. Jonestown is not just a story about a cult in a jungle. It is a story about the vulnerabilities of the human mind. And it leaves us with a quiet question. In a world full of loud voices demanding our belief, how do we hold on to our own?